Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
As Port Charles stood on the edge of a brand new year, the city braced for renewal, reflection, and fresh beginnings. The streets glittered with holiday lights, champagne chilled in crystal flutes, and hearts dared to hope that the coming year would wash away old sins. But just as the clock prepared to strike midnight, fate intervened with cruel precision. Because some endings are not peaceful. Some baptisms are not holy. And some exits leave scars that never fade. With Carlo Rota's contract officially ending, the character of Sidwell met a devastating and final fate, leaving Port Charles reeling as the new year approached. What was meant to symbolize rebirth instead became a reckoning, one soaked in grief, fury, and unfinished business. The final days of the year always carry weight in Port Charles. It's a time when old enemies resurface, confessions slip out under the influence of nostalgia, and destinies shift without warning. This year was no exception. Sidwell stood at the center of it all, mysterious, dangerous, and increasingly isolated. Once a man who believed he could outmaneuver fate itself, Sidwell now found himself trapped by the very web he had spun. As whispers circulated that Carlo Rota's time on the canvas was coming to an end, the show didn't offer a quiet fade-out. Instead, Sidwell's storyline accelerated toward something far darker. This wasn't just a character leaving town. This was a baptism by fire. In the days leading up to Sidwell's death, conversations throughout Port Charles took on an eerie tone. Friends offered encouragement. Allies spoke of second chances. There were even moments where Sidwell appeared to contemplate redemption, brief flashes where he seemed almost human, almost reachable. Encouraging words were spoken softly, carefully. You still have time. You don't have to end like this. Change is possible. But words, no matter how sincere, cannot save someone who refuses to listen. Sidwell had crossed too many lines. Burned too many bridges. Hurt too many people. And deep down, everyone sensed it, his story was racing toward a violent conclusion. As December waned, tension thickened like fog rolling in off the harbor. Sidwell's enemies multiplied. His allies vanished. Each hour brought him closer to an inevitable reckoning. He knew it. Sidwell began to move with desperation rather than confidence. His threats grew sharper. His patience evaporated. Gone was the calculated calm, replaced by rage and paranoia. The new year wasn't just approaching. It was closing in. Sidwell had always relied on intimidation. Fear was his currency, and he spent it freely. But now, his threats rang hollow, desperate rather than powerful. Voices were raised. Accusations flew. Ultimatums were issued with shaking hands. You don't walk away from me. You think this ends with me? You'll regret crossing me. But anger cannot reverse fate. The more Sidwell lashed out, the clearer it became, he was no longer in control. The city had turned against him. And when a villain loses his grip, Port Charles has a way of delivering swift justice. As celebrations prepared to erupt, tragedy struck. Sidwell was dead. The moment didn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It arrived quietly, brutally, and without mercy, casting a shadow over everything the new year was meant to represent. Shock rippled through Port Charles. Some mourned what could have been. Some felt relief they didn't dare admit. Others burned with unanswered questions. How did it happen? Was it inevitable? And who, if anyone, was truly responsible? With Sidwell's death, Carlo Rota's contract came to a close, bringing a definitive end to a character who had carved a dark, unforgettable path through General Hospital history. Sidwell wasn't just a villain, he was a catalyst. A man whose presence forced others to confront their limits, their morality, and their capacity for forgiveness or revenge. His exit wasn't clean. It wasn't comforting. And it wasn't meant to be. Instead, it left behind emotional wreckage that would ripple across storylines long after the body was gone. In the aftermath, Port Charles struggled to find its footing. The new year arrived anyway, indifferent, unstoppable. Those left behind were forced to carry on, even as grief and confusion clung to them. Encouraging words returned, but now they were meant for the survivors. We move forward. We heal. We learn. But healing is not linear. And for some, Sidwell's death reopened wounds they thought had finally scarred over. For others, Sidwell's death brought no peace. Anger simmered just beneath the surface. Old grudges remained unresolved. Secrets Sidwell took to his grave now threatened to destroy lives from beyond it. His death didn't end the danger. It transformed it. Performing arts a baptism into a darker future. As Port Charles stepped into the new year, it did so changed, baptized not in hope, but in harsh reality. Sidwell's demise was a reminder that not every chapter ends with redemption. Some end with consequences. Some end with blood. And some endings are merely the beginning of something far worse. With Sidwell gone and Carlo Rota officially off canvas, the fallout is only just beginning. Investigations loom. Grief collides with relief. And the vacuum left behind is dangerous, because in Port Charles, empty space is always filled by something darker. One thing is certain. As the new year dawns, General Hospital will never be the same. Portia Robinson's affair was exposed, and Laura Collins learned of Drew Kane's heritage theft. Plus, Dante Falconeri inferred Detective Harrison Chase corrupted the business cam substantiation against Willow Tate and suspended him from the PCPD. Portia summoned Ava Jerome to her office, where she expressed her anxiety about her forthcoming evidence at Willow's trial. Ava suggested that Alexis Davis might want Portia to bandy Drew's injuries, as she was the croaker who had treated him. She encouraged her friend to stay calm when Portia started to horrify. Drawing from her own jests in court, Ava advised Portia to keep her responses minimum if Alexis posed any questions regarding Drew. Ava's support sounded to calm the nervous croaker down a little bit. Willow's trial proceeded meanwhile. As Willow's trial proceeded at the courthouse, Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase handed Chase with a motivational talk before his evidence. Dante and Justine Turner questioned the defense's decision to include Portia as a last-minute substantiation. Trina Robinson informed Curtis Ashford that she was there with Kai Taylor again, likening the trial to a real-life crime show. Additionally, Alexis revealed to Drew and Willow that her strategy was to demonstrate that the police had restrained the wrong individual. Alexis questioned Chase. Dante wanted to talk to him laterally. Alexis started the defense with Chase as the first substantiation. He said he raised enterprises about the PCPD's disquisition into Drew's firing, but when they were ignored, he began his own inquiry. Justine, Dante, and Brooke Lynn were bothered when Chase mentioned he incompletely allowed Willow was innocent due to the substantiation against other suspects. Justine expostulated, saying that unnamed suspects were end on trial, but Alexis clarified that the defense would look into other possible lawbreakers, and the judge agreed. As Chase continued, he noted that without solid substantiation against Willow and 7 other suspects, her execution sounded unjust. During cross-examination, Turner made Chase admit his private disquisition set up no substantiation to clear Willow. After Chase was dismissed, Dante told the operative to meet him at the station right down. Martin lunched with Laura while Michael lunched with Tracy. While staying for Laura, Martin Gray glared at Tracy Quartermaine and Michael Corinthos in the Metro Court dining room. When Laura arrived, they bandied her wrathfulness over his attempt to take the manse from Tracy. She still loved him and invited him to Christmas Eve dinner. Meanwhile, Michael paid for lunch with Tracy, who joked about her perjury for him, commodity she'd remind him of as long as Monica Quartermaine held the house over hers. Tracy was concerned Alexis might call her back to swear, and Michael said he would attend the trial that day to avoid being used by Alexis. He mentioned some jurors looked at him like a past nut seeking vengeance. Laura learns of Drew's heritage theft as Tracy made her way out of the bustling eatery. She took a moment to break at the table enthralled by Laura and Martin. With a warm smile, she extended her congratulations to the mayor for her recent re-election palm, delivering her for successfully prevailing Sonny Corinthos to part with his peers. That was indeed if the buyer happened to be Jen Sidwell. The discussion also shifted to Martin's recent caper involving Ronnie Bard, egging Laura to put her family in a bit of a tight spot, compelling him to offer in reason to Tracy. In response, Tracy remarked that if Martin was authentically regretful, he'd defy his despicable master and take action to recoup the family heritages that Drew had taken from them. Martin begrudgingly agreed to talk to Drew at Laura's behest at the request of his family. Martin hesitantly decided to talk to Drew, but he left in a huff when Tracy pushed him to do it right down. This was anyhow of whether Drew was in court at that moment. After Martin departed, Laura expressed her surprise that her family could act so cruelly, and Tracy inferred that Laura didn't know her family as well as she allowed. When Laura asked how their relationship had come so simulated, Tracy dismissed the question, saying she couldn't recall. But let's stopgap, he has eventually learned his assignment, she said with a grin. Brooke Lynn set up Michael at the restaurant and filled him in on the court proceedings. Feeling worried after Chase witnessed, Brooke Lynn set up Michael at the eatery and filled him in on the court proceedings. While she didn't mention him by name, Brooke Lynn indicated that Chase's evidence didn't sit well with Dante. And she stressed she had erred in supporting her hubby as he pursued the disquisition into Drew's firing singly. Although she agreed with Michael's observation that Chase was defending someone he believed in, Brooke Lynn questioned whether her principled hubby had chosen the right battle this time. Michael encouraged her not to let Willow and Drew ruin their happiness as they had done to him. Dante brazened Chase about his evidence. The two got in a crying match in the interrogation room at the PCPD. Dante and Chase got in a crying match about his evidence. Dante claimed that his former mate had undermined the entire department, and Chase maintaining he'd only told the verity because Willow shouldn't be on trial anyway. Dante indicted Chase of not being good of the emblem, and he reposted that the acting manager didn't earn to wear it. Moreover, since Dante had used his position to steer the disquisition down from his family. When Dante swore that he'd been objective, Chase calmly combated, "I suppose that you squinched up Michael's life formerly ahead and got him transferred to captivity. Now, purposely or not, I suppose this is your way of making sure that that doesn't be again." Dante suspended Chase when Dante declared he was out of line. Chase apologized for bringing up Michael, but maintained that while acting as manager, Dante had been determined to point the cutlet at Willow. He argued that Dante should have broke the trial while the PCPD dealt Curtis, and Dante rebutted that the business footage they had of Willow was ruinous and excessively corrupted. After challenging Dante to ask him about the videotape, Chase declared that he didn't tamper with the footage. Not satisfied, Dante revealed that Internal Affairs was going to question Chase about the spoiled camera footage and mischief disquisition. With that, Dante suspended him. Ava went with Portia to the courthouse for support. Ava went with Portia to the courthouse, surprising Curtis Ashford and Trina Robinson when she was called as the defense's coming substantiation. As Portia was sworn in, Drew questioned why Alexis brought in the croaker, claiming it would help Willow's case. Under pledge, Portia admitted to using her part as G.H. co-chief of staff to falsify test results for Heather Weber. Justine expostulated to this being applicable, but Alexis showed that Drew discovered the test tampering and blackmailed Portia. After proving Dr. Robinson had a motive and means, Alexis asked Portia where she was when Drew was shot. Portia's affair was exposed. Portia claimed she didn't shoot Drew and avoided giving a clear answer. When the judge ordered her to respond or face disdain, Portia told Alexis she wouldn't give the answer she wanted. She shocked the courtroom with her tearful concession that she was in a Metro Court hostel room with Dr. Isaiah Gannon. Embarrassed, Portia explained how she leaned on Isaiah during her marriage troubles and apologized to Trina and Curtis for them chancing out this way. Kai chased after Trina when she rushed out of the courtroom, while an agonized Curtis stayed as Justine continued questioning Portia. Drew forbade Alexis to see Scout during the leaves. Justine verified Portia's justification and offered to subpoena Dr. Gannon for evidence, but Alexis agreed it wasn't demanded, and Portia was dismissed. When Alexis called her coming substantiation, the judge laid over until after the new time. Justine told the soul in her office would communicate him about Portia's claims. Drew angrily told Alexis he was facing highway robbery charges because of her and criticized her for ruining Portia's life. Alexis argued she was trying to produce reasonable mistrustfulness, while Willow bothered the jury might not believe her if she refocused to someone differently. Drew angrily said Alexis wouldn't get to see Scout Kane during the leaves. Willow was taken suddenly by her hubby's words and looked at Alexis with sympathy. Trina cried to Kai about her mama's infidelity on her dad in the corridor. Trina cried to Kai about her mama betraying her pater. and not wanting to talk to Portia when her mama came near. Curtis intruded when Portia tried to apologize and asked Kai to take Trina home. Portia also faced Curtis, who wanted to know if the baby was his or Isaiah's. When she said she wasn't sure, Curtis indicted her of lying again. "I'm really sorry about this," Portia cried. "Now that, I believe," he soughed. "I just don't care," he said before leaving. As Portia cried about her ruined life, Ava sat down to give her a comforting clinch. Trina came to a horrible consummation. As paparazzi descended upon Drew and Willow in Kai's auto, Trina cried that she allowed her pater cheated on her mama. No way, considering it could be the other way around, realizing the baby might be Dr. Gannon's. A group of journalists awaited for Drew and Willow outside the courtroom, asking them about Portia. Drew, saying he'd no comment, led a stupefied Willow through the crowd. Back in the courtroom, Alexis was on the phone with Suzanne when a man handed her an envelope. She opened it to find an unsigned letter stating that Michael was at Drew's house the night of the firing, and Tracy had seen him there. Be sure to catch up on everything passing with GH right now. Come back then frequently for General Hospital spoilers, news, and updates.